Hey guys, I'm in the shop by myself today. I'm working on a Polaris Razor. It's mine. It's time to do a little maintenance on it. I was riding at Wolfpen Gap in Arkansas, actually on Foosh Mountain because Wolfpen Gap was closed, and I blew out a shock. So these are rebuildable nitrogen shocks. Bought the kit. When you buy a kit, it comes with enough to do 2 shocks, so I'm gonna do both my backs. See how that goes. I may end up rebuilding the front too. So the shock comes out real easy. It's just 2 bolts. There's 1 shock off. I'm gonna go put it over here. This shock here is probably still good, but I got the kit, so I'm gonna redo it anyway. All right, so take your shock off the vehicle. It's easy. A bolt on the bottom, bolt on the top, nothing to it. And the first step's getting your spring off. So you want to hit these threads with a wire brush. I like using a brass wire brush because this is aluminum housing. So you hit these threads. I've already loosened this lock nut. So you loosen the lock nut, you spin it down quite a ways, and then I just take a pair of channel locks. You get on the second nut and you just start spinning it off. It's going to have a little pressure on it, but the more pressure you relieve with the nut, the easier it will be, the easier it'll start getting to turn. Make sure that you don't get your teeth onto your threads, because you need the threads to be able to adjust the nuts. Once you get to a certain point, you relieve enough string tension that you can just undo the nut by hand. You can see. And then there's a keeper up here on the very top. You can just tap it off. And slide it off. So that's what your keeper looks like. Your shaft will slide through here. That just, you'll set it on there, and then when you put tension back on it, it'll lock back in place. So take your keeper off, take your spring off. Now, the next thing, and it's very important, you want to clean your whole entire shock, because when you rebuild them, you don't want any dirt inside. So take you 20 or 30 minutes and clean your shock up very good. So I'm fixing to do that, and I'll be back. Okay, now you can see I got my shock cleaned. So the next step is on the Generation 1 Fox shocks. These are Fox 2.0, Fox Podium 2.0 shocks. Sorry, let's see if I can get my head in there too. Hey, here I am. All right, they have a little bitty white pellet. It almost looks like a airsoft BB that's stuck in this Allen head thread right here. So you pry that out with a pick, and then you relieve pressure on, this is for your nitrogen. So you relieve the nitrogen pressure. I just easily start backing this off, and you'll hear the pressure coming out. Once the pressure's out, which I've already done, you can push the top of this piston in, and there'll be a snap ring. You have to hold the piston in and remove the snap ring. Now there's gonna be dirt in there. We're gonna wanna get all of that dirt out because you don't want any dirt back in your new shock. But we're gonna clean this thoroughly. Let me see if I can bend it where y'all can see what I'm doing. The top of this will push in. You can see it push in like that. Then you find where the edge of your clip is. That's right there. And you just get you a pick and see if you can pop it out. So that ring, that snap ring will look just like that. And then the top will come off. So set your snap ring to the side. Get you the same Allen that you use to undo this, and just kind of work it up back and forth, and it'll pop out. All right, so that's your cap. That's your nitrogen reservoir cap right there. Once you got that off, I'm gonna go set it to the side because we're gonna need to clean both of these in a little bit. Let me stand this back up. I'm gonna take a rag and try to get the rest, or as much of this dirt out of here as I can. You couldn't get that dirt out when you're cleaning it. I did the best I could, but you're never gonna get it all. So next, you're gonna pull out your IFP, which is called your internal floating piston. So get you a clean pair of pliers. They make a tool to do this. If you wanna buy the tool, that's awesome. I don't have the tool. I'm probably not gonna buy the tool because I'm not gonna do this job super often. If I was shock rebuilding all the time, I would, but I'll show you when I get it out. That IFP, you're gonna reach down there with needle nose pliers, grip it firmly. You can usually spin it out. It doesn't want to come out. So I'll show you a trick. If it doesn't want to come out, all this got to come apart anyway. This little adjuster right here, it needs to come off. There'll be different methods for different shocks to pull this off. Some is just a screw. This actually has a knob on it, so you pull your knob off. I think that's a 5/8. Yep, it is. You can pull this tensioner off, this shock tensioner off, and it'll allow air into the backside because nitrogen's on the top of your floating piston. On the bottom of your floating piston, it's full of oil all the way through here. So trying to pull it up, I was creating a vacuum, and it's gonna be difficult to pull that thing all the way out. It can be done, but might as well do it the easy way. So I'm gonna start losing oil here. So there is your adjuster. I'm gonna go put this to the side. Try to catch my oil in my oil bucket. Now I'll grab the piston again, and it just pops out. So that's all there is to the internal floating piston. That's all there is to it. So I'll go set it to the side where we can clean it all up. Now, the next step is you want to run your piston up pretty much all the way up. And then this one pops off. So you'll use like a punch or a chisel and a hammer. You catch it on the very top ridge, and you just start working it up out of there. And it don't take much, it'll come out pretty easy. There it is. So that's your end cap, your dust cap. And then your piston, oh yeah, you've got another snap ring, so you want to push your piston down. You've got another snap ring in here. So you're gonna pull that snap ring out. And it just pops out, and then you can take it off. That's it. Once you take it off, this whole unit will just come out like that and drain oil all over the floor and everywhere. That's lovely. Now your shock's completely tore apart. So you want to drain whatever the rest of the oil is in there. It really doesn't look horrible. And then we'll take it over to the bench. All right, once we got this apart, the next thing we need to do is take this nut off right here. So I'm gonna break it loose. It's a 9/16. I broke it loose, but I'm not taking it all the way off. I'll show you why here in just a minute. So let's go over to the table where we can rebuild this whole thing. The reason I didn't take it all the way off is because this whole shim pack right here has to go together one way, and you don't want to mess it up. So I take the nut off on the table, and then when I pull this shim pack off, I'm gonna stack it on a screwdriver. So this shim pack comes off like this, then I'm gonna put it through the screwdriver. That way I can't mess up the way it goes. Then this piston will come off, and it's got a shim pack on the back side as well. So you take the piston off, put it on the screwdriver, and then the last shim pack, put it on the screwdriver. We'll rebuild that in a minute. And then this is your sealing end. So it just slides off. You need to make sure you know which way it goes on. Now the job is to clean all this and put new seals in it. So the first thing you do is you take your big rubber seal off the end, and then it has a seal inside of it. So you got to pick that seal out. And then underneath the seal it has a kind of like a spacer. So now that you've got that out, you want to clean this really good, and I found brake cleaner works really well. Then you want to inspect it, look for any little particles of dirt that you missed. This one was in way better shape than the first shock I rebuilt. Got a new seal kit here. So I'm gonna open this up and lay all my little seals out. Now, this seal replaces the first seal that I popped out and this spacer, because it's actually, this new seal I got in this kit from Schmitty Racing is actually taller, and it is a literal pain to get put in there. So what you want to do is get you a little bit of shock oil or shock grease if you have it. I don't have any of that. Get you a little bit of shock oil on your finger and lube that whole seal up so you don't tear anything. And you want to make sure that the open end is facing up, which actually when you put it on the shaft, it's going to be facing the end of the shaft. Getting it in there, man, is a pain. I found the best thing to do is use a little bitty screwdriver, but just use the side, not the screwdriver part. You can kind of work it in there like that, or use the end of something round. You don't want to use anything flat that'll cut it, or pointy that'll puncture it. All right, I got it in there. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see inside? It's in there. It's a pain to get in there. There's no doubt about it. And then you take the seal that you got, the O-ring you got off the outside, you find the one in the kit that matches, and you match it up. That's it. So you slide your new one on, Now that I've got that off, I'm going to actually put it on another screwdriver the way it goes on. So I'm going to set it like that. Next thing is your dust cap. Your dust cap, you're going to want to do this pretty much the same thing. So you'll pick the seal out of your dust cap. There's the old one, all gnarly and gritty from dirt and stuff. So then you get your dust cap and you want to clean it really well. Don't be afraid to take a wire brush to it and hit it if it needs it. Inside and out, clean everything. The cleaner you can get it, the better off you're going to be. Get you an old rag, preferably one that's clean. Wipe it down. Now, on your dust cap, you're going to have a seal with a lip on the top of it. You see how that lip? So the lip's going to go to the outside of the reset. Let's see. The recessed part of the lip, the small part of the lip's going to go poking out of the top of this. Just work it in. Same thing. You don't want to cut it. Just be gentle with it. It's not as hard as the first one to go in. So now it's installed. You see how the recessed top lip, it just sits flush with the cap. So now we can put it out of the way. Then we can go to cleaning our shim pack. So what I like to do is get you a rag. You want to inspect every shim. Give her a good old wipe down. And then put it on this second screwdriver the same way so you can keep them in line. Take your next one. You're going to go through this entire process like that, and there's a bunch of them, so don't get discouraged. And now you can take your piston off. This piston, there really ain't much to it. You want to spray it off right quick, and there's one O-ring to change on it. In the Smitty kit, it's a purple O-ring, whereas the stock one was black. I don't know what they make them out of. I don't know what the new stuff is. And then you got your last shim pack, which is another, it's got a bunch of them on it. So take your time and clean them all off. All right, got all that done. So now, oh, yes, on your piston, so on your piston, that little O-ring that's gonna be on your piston, there's gonna be this ring around it. You gotta make sure that that ring gets back on it before you put it back together. I'll show y'all that in a minute. Now let's take our adjustment valve. There's 2 O-rings on it. You'll pop them off. Replace them with new O-rings. Inspect it really good. Make sure there's no dirt or debris or nothing on it. And there's threads on it, so look at it really good. That's all there is to that one. And put it, oh, a floating piston, we gotta change it. So, on this floating piston, you've got another one of these rings that go like on the regular piston. We're gonna reuse that. So I just like taking it off, being gentle with it. Take it off. Then you got a big fat O-ring. We're gonna replace the big fat O-ring. We'll put the new big old O-ring on it. Roll it on. And then give your, I don't know what it is. I guess it's a wiper ring. I don't know what it is actually, but just give it a good wipe down. If it's really dirty, hit it with some brake cleaner, clean it up, and put it back on. Take your shock body and inspect it really well. Look inside, look for any damage or corrosion. This one is good to go. What I like to do is spray it out with brake cleaner and try to get every little piece of grit out of it. Check it out really well. Everything looks good inside of there, except we have a little residual brake cleaner. If you have residual brake cleaner, just blow it out with some compressed air. It dries really fast. And so this looks really good inside here now. So now it's gonna be time to put it back together. First thing we wanna do is take our shaft. Well, I need to clean that up. See how it's dirty on there? I'm gonna hit it with a brush right quick. Just to clean it up. Spray it off, good to go. Now, I bought a new bumper, so I'm gonna take the bumper out and install it first. So the bumper is gonna go on the shaft. Let's give that a wipe down one last time. So the bumper is gonna go on the shaft, and then your end cap dust seal is gonna go on the shaft. And just be real careful when you're putting these on. You actually may want to put a little oil on your seal just to help with getting it started. Okay, dust cap's on. Now, these on this screwdriver, I need to transfer back over to the first screwdriver. So I'm gonna take this shim pack, put it on, and the piston, put it on. Your next shim pack, put it on. The end cap sealer. It goes on right after your dust cap. So we're gonna lube that up with a little bit of oil. We're gonna gently rock this on. And then all of your shim packs and stuff can go on. Piston, your upper shim pack, and your nut. Now, you want to torque this nut to 18 foot-pounds. All right, so that's rebuilt. Now, make sure that this goes on here. I'll show you that when we put that in. So we're going to install your adjuster. It just threads in, and then we tighten it up. Then you want to go ahead and put your adjuster screw on, because you're going to need to be able to work that back and forth. Okay, so you want it all the way open. This is all the way closed. You want it all the way open, because what we want, we're going to fill this up with fluid, and we want the fluid to flow down and come back up through here to get all the air out. So we fill it up, and it takes a little bit to drain through. You just got to be patient with it, and you'll have to do that 4 or 5 times. But what you want is fluid up to here and up to here, in both. You're filling it through this one so that you're pushing all the air bubbles out through this one. Just keep topping it up. Eventually it'll level out. Tell you what, I'm gonna go wash my hands and put some gloves on. All right, so once your fluid gets to the point you like it, leveled out across here, we're going to take your IFP, internal floating piston. We're going to pull this screw out. Now, that screw has an O-ring. That O-ring needs to be changed as well. And it comes in the kit. So there's your screw with the O-ring on it. I'm fixing to pull the O-ring off and change it right quick. And then we're going to set the screw over. So as you can see, I've removed the screw. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit of oil on this O-ring and this wiper. And then we're going to real gently put this down in here. And it's probably going to squirt oil on you. But what you want is the oil to come out of that hole that you took the screw out of, because you want all the air out from underneath this piston. Oops. See, just like that. Now, we're going to push that down. It's going to continue to squirt oil. You want to keep pushing it down until you have the entire piston covered. You want oil over the top of that hole. That tells you that there's no oil or air underneath the piston. Then you're going to take your pliers and you're going to work that down. You want it to be about 1 inch down, and it will squirt you. Yep. And you're going to fill it up with oil. You don't have to go real full, but get it quite a bit over that piston. Then you want to fill this up with oil. Oh yeah, yeah. You're going to want to put your screw, you don't want to put your screw back in. I forgot that step. Now when you tighten that up, that screw up, you're going to actually turn the piston inside this bore, but that's fine. So now that you got that back in, you want to fill this up. Woo! Filled it right to the very tippy top. It's okay. And then you'll go get your rod. Now, you want to make sure that when this goes in, this ring right here is on it. And it has to be precisely in those grooves. If you get it off, it'll bind, and that's no good. And you're gonna make a mess, so don't worry about that. Now you wanna pump this up and down a few times. Get all the air out of it. You wanna screw this all the way in. I don't know why they tell you to do that. That's what they want you to do. Screw that all the way in. Pump this up and down. And then you're gonna give it a couple of whacks with a hammer right on top here. They said it spreads the shim pack out. I don't know about all that, but we're gonna do it anyway. Then you put your seal down in there. You wanna make sure the oil is all the way at the top, because you don't want any air in here. You need that far enough down in there to where you can put your snap ring back on. Just make sure it's seated. There we go. And then you can put your seal cap on. And you'll just tap it down lightly with a hammer. Now, we need to take the little screw back out of the IFP, because we have to adjust the IFP. It's got to be sitting at a certain depth. So we take the screw out of it with the O-ring, and then we're going to end up pressing the IFP down. It's got to go, so it's actually got to go that deep, 3.4 inches. That's on a rear shock. Our front shocks are different, and each vehicle is different, so you might want to look at your particular razor, or they'll give you a spec for the IFP. We still got to go down a little bit. Now the tool that they sell, well actually it's easier to push the IFP down, but this isn't bad, so I just use a caliper and I clean it off real good. You want to make sure that that oil is covering up that, so we're there. I went probably 10 thousandths over, but I don't think that's gonna hurt anything. So at this point, you wanna put your screw back in. So I'm gonna show you a little trick. I dump a little bit of the oil out. I don't dump it all out. And I'm gonna cock this shock sideways. That way I can get that screw in there and not lose it off the end. There we go. Now you can dump the oil out of your reservoir. I just put it back in the bottle because it's good clean oil. I've tried everything I can do to keep it clean. That's what it looks like down in there, if you can see it. All right, put the cap back on my oil. We're done with the oil. Now, here's the next thing. We would just put the cap on, put the snap ring back in, and basically you're done. But I bought some Smitty Racing suspension caps. They're to give you a little bit more nitrogen area. But I'm an idiot and I bought the wrong caps. But I did some measurements and it looks like if I mill off one little section, this cap will fit. So that's what we're fixing to do. I bought the Fox Podium 2.0 Generation 2 cap, but I have Fox Podium Generation 1 2.0 shocks. But anyway, we're gonna chuck this up in the lathe. We're gonna turn it down and we're going to install it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lip that sticks out right here. I'm gonna shave that lip down and then this cap will fit in the other shock. I know it's not the right one, but I don't have time to wait on parts. So this is how we're gonna play that game. Looks good to me. Simple fix. Simple fix. To know that I did it right, this should slip inside there. And it does. Perfect. So let me put my O-ring on. So get a little bit of oil, lube up our O-ring. That slips down in there. Then just put our snap ring on. Snap ring's on, shock's back together. Now, at this point you would charge it up, which the reason I like these new caps is because they have a Schrader valve instead of the self-healing plug. So I bought the parts to fill my own nitrogen system, but I'm missing one part right now. So that's as far as I can get tonight. But when I get that part, I'll fill them and I'll film it to show y'all how to do it. You want that to go down and not pull it. Don't ever pull it back up. You want your nitrogen system, when you charge it, you want the nitrogen to push it back up. But that's all there is to rebuilding the shock. Thanks for watching.